Alright, hello everyone, it's Nick Dixon and I'm back with another video, the introductory series on cybersecurity. And this video isn't actually going to be focusing on things to do in Windows 7, but instead I'm going to be explaining a few things. And as this first slide says right here, I'm going to be talking about malware. So the point of this video is to educate you on the different types of malware and what they all do, and next video we'll get into getting rid of these sort of things and the basic ways to protect yourself from them. So I'm going to start the slide up here and we're going to begin with the first slide, malware. Now I'm going to read the very top caption on all these slides and then I'll read the description. So if you really wanted to, you could just listen, but for any of the visual viewers I kind of added a little subtitle here and a bit of a goofy caption to it. Some of them are just things that rhyme, some of them are things that I made up, some of them are just kind of obscure, and yeah, if you want to, you can read them. But anyways, we're starting off with malware, which is short for malicious software. In case you didn't know, and malware is a broad and general term used to describe all of the evil software out there. Malware disrupts your normal computer operations, can steal your information, and can be used to control your system or even use your PC as part of an army. Virus. The definition of a virus is often confused with malware amongst people who are not as tech savvy. A virus is malware that replicates itself on your computer, often affecting programs or files, and is installed without the user's knowledge. Viruses can have many goals, but they most notably eat up your system resources. So just as a quick point here to sort of wrap around, a lot of people who don't know what they're talking about, they'll say, oh, my computer has a virus, but it's not necessarily a virus because a virus is a very specific term. It's not the broad term like malware is. So they might say they have a virus when really they have, some spyware or something like that. Okay, a worm. Unlike a virus, a worm replicates itself over a network to disturb other computers. Another defining feature is that it does not need to attach itself to a program. A worm can have many effects, like a virus, but oftentimes it also consumes bandwidth on top of computer resources. So a lot of viruses and worms, what they do is they slow your computer down by eating up a lot of resources. Lots of the time when you look, you'll see that there's something taking up a lot of RAM or CPU usage, and that can often in terms coincide with you having some malware on your PC. A Trojan horse. In case you've not heard the story about what the Greeks were doing, and this might not make as much sense, a Trojan disguises itself as a normal file or program that tricks users into downloading or installing it. Once again, it can have a variety of effects, but the person infecting the PC may have total control. Spyware. Spyware seems self-explanatory. It is software that spies on you. It may monitor what you do, what you're typing, or it may serve to watch for personal information being entered. Spyware often affects your internet browser and is often part of other malicious downloads. Adware. Adware also seems self-explanatory. It is software that gives you advertisements, and in this case they're often not ones that you want. Pretty much everyone has experienced adware. It comes in the form of annoying pop-ups or advertisements displayed on websites. And keep in mind that not all adware is designed to be evil. It can be used by authorized advertisers to deliver ads relevant to you. So lots of the time you might notice that if you're doing browsing on Amazon or something like that, now all of a sudden you're getting ads on Facebook relating to what your search history is on Amazon. So that's just an example of some basic level adware, which isn't bad in that case. Malvertisements. So malware plus advertisements equals malvertisements. And this is a fairly new concept. The idea here is that the malware injects itself into an advertisement on a web page. This is not only an issue found on less reputable websites, as there have been reports of it happening on some pretty high-profile pages. This can often be hard to combat, since the malware is placed without the host knowing on a legitimate ad. An extreme widespread of users are affected by this. I know I heard a while back there was actually an ad on YouTube that somebody hijacked, and it turned into a malvertisement, and a lot of people were affected by it. So when you see ads on the sides of pages, these are the kind of ads that are subject to this infection. Now, a browser hijacker. Browser hijackers modify or change a web browser's settings in order to gather information about you or direct you to websites you would have otherwise not visited. Oftentimes the user's homepage or search engine is altered, and they possibly have other software installed on their PC. This is one of the most common types of malware found on uneducated users' computers. Now this last thing here, it's one of the most common types. I can't tell you that for sure. This is just my opinion from what I've seen when I'm fixing other people's computers and things of that sort. And the subtitle I gave this one is Conduit. Conduit is the most common browser hijacker out there. Tons of people have it on their PC at home and don't even realize it's a safe and secure search engine when it really isn't. And I wrap back around to the point made earlier here. It directs you to websites you would have otherwise not visited. So essentially, that website, Conduit, could direct you to, if you do a Google search, for example, pancakes, and where normally Google would have directed you to site A, Conduit directs you to site B, and for all you know, the hacker has some sort of, they host site B, and site B has other malware on it. Browser hijackers aren't a good thing at all, and they completely slow down your browser performance, from my experience. So now a keylogger we're going to talk about. A keylogger seems to fit the recent trend in having a literal name. It logs your keystrokes. On top of being able to do this, it can track almost exactly what you're doing. It can take screenshots, track your clicking, and see what websites you go to. All of these in combination can easily steal passwords or personal information. This information can be sent back to the hacker, but it can also be used for good. Some people use these programs to track their family's online behavior. So I've heard of people who use keyloggers or similar programs to track what their family's saying online, because if they have kids, for instance, they don't necessarily want kids going to certain websites, or if they're, trying to see what their kid is saying online just to make sure they're not doing anything bad, then they can use it for that. So keylogger, it's one of those things that can be bad, can be good, but if you don't know that it's there, then it's probably bad. So a rootkit. A rootkit is one of the most evil and dangerous types of malware. Rootkits are designed to be incredibly stealthy, which means security software often has issues finding them. Even knowledgeable users may have difficulty finding them. On top of being hard to find, rootkits can give the hacker full control over the system. So a rootkit seems to be another sort of relatively new-ish one here on this list, but like the slide says, a rootkit is a piece of malware, and it oftentimes is very hard to find. I'll talk about how viruses are picked up later, but when you're finding, if you suspect your system of having a rootkit, you often want to look for very specific anti-malware software that is specifically made for finding rootkits, because a lot of the time a normal antivirus program won't necessarily pick up a rootkit. Ransomware. Ransomware has another pretty literal title. It is when a program locks down your computer and demands that you pay the hacker to regain access. During this time, you often have no access to files on your computer, and this type of malware is distributed through fairly common methods like being attached to another download. So, lots of sites where you download stuff will often have something else attached in the background, or there'll be it'll say, oh, if you want to download this, you have to install this first, and then that's how you get the malware on your computer, and a lot of people don't realize. But I know that there was one that I heard of where people's PCs were getting locked down, and it said that, oh, this is a message from the RCMP. You can't. We detected that you downloaded some illegal software or something of that sort, and you have to pay your fine, or else you won't have access to your computer. So obviously, some people were paying it because they, thought the police had caught them, but really, it's just a hacker, and their computer was locked down. And the hacker wants money for you to be able to have access to your computer again. So bots. Bots are computers infected by a certain type of software that allows the hacker to use the remote system in order to carry out specific tasks. When the hacker has infected enough computer, or has enough bots, then they have control of what is called a botnet. The botnet can be used for sending spam email, attacking online services in the form of a DDoS most commonly, or even spreading malware. Note that bots and botnets are becoming a pretty widespread issue, and this is very true. You hear a lot about it all the time, people taking down tons of websites. I know that just recently, from the time I was making this video, there was supposedly a hacker group who was just knocking down different online services. I know that they knocked down the PlayStation Network. They took down Xbox Live for a bit, I believe, and I think they've also been attacking the website Twitch TV. If I heard correctly, I think they're actually keeping that website down for the longest, and Xbox Live was down only for a few minutes, and the PlayStation Network had been down for a little bit longer. But when these bots come together in the form of a botnet, they can send tons of not legitimate traffic over to in this case Twitch TV, and the website becomes overwhelmed and can't support itself, so it gets taken down. So you might not even know, but your PC could be a bot. It could be part of a botnet. I've heard stories of uh, PCs in banks and things of that sort even being a part of botnets. A backdoor. Backdoors can be put in by the programmer who creates an application so that they have a way to troubleshoot, and it can also be put in by a hacker who wishes to exploit a feature. Backdoors are designed to gain access to a program through bypassing the security features. What the hacker chooses to do is dependent on what software they are accessing. Typically, it involves taking information or gaining system control. Now, backdoors, um, these these are often kind of hard to fight because you can't really, run an antivirus scan to get rid of it. So, in a way, you could choose to not consider this malware, unless there is specifically a program. But it depends which form of backdoor you're talking about. If you can understand what I mean, if there's a backdoor put in by a programmer and somebody else figures out how to use it, well, it's not essentially malware. But if there is an application that somebody else makes to break in and use that as the backdoor into something else, then that's when you consider it malware. And in that case, sure, an antivirus could find it, but if it's something put in by the programmer, then in that case only an update is going to fix it. A 0-day. A 0-day is not exactly a piece of malware. It refers to the point at which a piece of malware or bug in a section of code has not been made public. Antivirus programs find malware based on what are referred to as signatures. If the developer of the antivirus software does not know about the vulnerability and therefore have not obtained a signature, then they cannot do anything to find or prevent that malware from spreading. So like I said earlier, I was going to talk about the signatures and what they are and how they work and how they coincide with anti-malware software. So basically, if you didn't catch that, these antivirus programs out there update their database all the time. You always see them downloading updates, oftentimes during the night. And what that does is they're updating new types of malware that they find. So if a new bug comes out, if there's a new virus that they find, and they get the signature of that virus, and they add it to their database, so then that antivirus software can go in and find out where that malware is, if you can understand what I mean. That was a little all over the place, I know. But think of it like some burglar. If there was a burglar out there who, every time he committed a crime, spray painted his signature on the wall, then there'd be a point where the police would say, alright, we have this guy's signature, so every time he does a crime, we'll know it's him, and eventually when we catch him, we can lock him in jail. If you understand the comparison I made there, this antivirus gets the signature of the perpetrator, the virus, and then once it sees the signature again, it knows who it is, it can disinfect that file. So an example of a 0-day was the heartbleed bug that people heard about a little while ago, I'm sure. And that was an issue with SSL. I'm not going to get really into all that stuff, but that's an example of a 0-day, something that was been going on for a couple years and nobody understood it, nobody knew about it, so it was affecting a lot of people without even knowing. And during that time it's a 0-day, but now that it's been made public, it's not a 0-day anymore, and pretty much everybody's fixed that issue. So that's the end of this one. That was really just an overview, and I'd say even a quick overview of a lot of the different types of malware, because there's tons of stuff out there and there's a lot of stuff to learn about each one of these. But next video I'm probably going to get into some basic updating and basic antivirus or firewall software that can help you prevent against these sort of things. So I hope you learned a few things, and that's it for this video.